Hi everyone, I'm Liam here for Archipelago, and in this video I'm going to share 4 quick tips to help you get the most from graduated filters. Tip number 1 is how to quickly activate the graduated filter. If you're like me, you might tend to work with one hand on your mouse or trackpad and the other hand on your keyboard. So rather than moving your cursor up to the top of the develop module to select the graduated filter and then inevitably have to come back down to the image here to apply it, you can actually just press the M button on your keyboard. So press M on the keyboard, that activates the filter, and then you can simply apply that to your image. Tip number 2 offers an easier way to achieve a perfect horizontal or vertical line, and that's achieved by simply holding down the Shift key as you drag the filter, and that's going to give you a perfect horizontal or vertical line. Tip 3 helps you to see exactly where the filter is applying by activating an overlay. So the overlay can be turned on and off by hitting the O key on the keyboard, and then any area that is going to be affected by the filter will be highlighted in red. Tip number 4 takes advantage of a more recently introduced tool to Lightroom, and that is the range mask. So the range mask allows you to decide what the filter affects within the photo based on either color or luminance. So starting off with color, up at the top here we have a dropper tool, and this allows us to choose the color range that we'd like the mask to apply to. As it says just below here, you can also click and drag for greater accuracy, or shift and click to add multiple samples. So once you've chosen the color that you'd like to affect, then we have the slider below, and this allows you to choose the amount or the transition between the color that we've selected and other colors close to it. Then we have the luminance tool, and this again has a dropper so we can select a particular luminance within the image, or we can just use this slider here which is called range. This allows us to select the luminance range from blacks and shadows all the way up to whites and highlights. And then just below that we have a smoothness slider. This is similar to the amount slider that we saw before. So this is the smoothness, or the transition between the luminance range that we've selected and the rest of the photo. So let's go ahead and edit this image with graduated filters using all the tips we've just learned, starting with the M key to activate the filter. And then I'm going to hold down Shift to create a nice straight horizontal line. Now I'm going to edit the filter to give me the effect that I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust the temperature and the tint. I'm going to keep the exposure dropped a little bit, somewhere around about there. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of dehaze to this as well. And I'm just going to drop the clarity just so we don't pull too much detail into the sky. Okay, so this is the effect I'm going to go for, just introducing a little bit of blue, purplish kind of colour into the sky there, but of course it's affecting the subject in the centre of the frame here, so this is where we can use some of the other tips that I shared earlier. So we're going to go ahead and use a range mask. So for this I'm going to use colour. I'm going to use the dropper tool here and select the colour in the sky. Now I'm going to press the O key to activate the overlay so I can see exactly what's been affected. So we can see it's done a fairly good job there of selecting just the colour in the background and not on the subject, but now I can use the amount slider here to adjust that transition between the masks. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the amount. This should make it a little bit smoother. And I'm just keeping an eye on how it transitions where a hairline is just here. So somewhere around about there I think looks good. We're getting a nice smooth transition. There's a little bit of colour being brought in here which would be accurate to the scene, as the colour of the sky would come through her hair a little bit. So let's go ahead and hide the overlay by pressing O again, and now we can see the effect applied to the background. So if I hit the return key, just so we can see it without the lines there. And now I'm going to go ahead and apply another graduated filter. So I want to use the same effect, just so it mirrors the colour that we've got in the sky there down in the bottom here. So I'm going to click on the first graduated filter. Now I can go ahead and add a second one, and that will keep the same settings as before. So I'm going to drag up here, holding down the Shift key again, just so I can get a nice straight horizontal line. I'm going to go for quite a big transition here, I think. Let's drag this down. And again, we can see this is affecting, the subject, her feet down here, the bottom of the dress, those kinds of things. So let's go ahead and use the luminance range mask. So again, let's use the dropper tool. Let's bring it down into the water here. I'm going to click somewhere around there. And again, we're going to press O so we can see what's been affected. So that's done a fairly good job. What I'm going to do is bring the top of the range mask down just a little bit here, until we can find the balance we're looking for. So I think somewhere around there. I'm going to play around with smoothness so we can see how that's impacting the dress. So I don't want it to affect the dress too much, but there would be a little bit of reflection of that colour onto the dress. So just a little bit of that is what I'm looking for. So I think somewhere around there. I'm going to press the O key again so I can hide that mask, and now I can check what it looks like. So that looks good to me. I'm going to press return to confirm that. And if I press the M key again, we're going to exit the graduated filter. And the last thing I'm going to do with this image is just bring up the temperature now just to balance it out. So we get a nice warm colour on our subject. And we have this sort of purpley, pinkish hue to the sky, and also reflected in the water at the bottom of the frame there as well. I'm just going to increase the exposure a tiny little bit. Somewhere there I think looks good. Let's take a look at the before and after. So there we have it, a gorgeous edit using 4 tips to get the most from graduated filters. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like more education content like this, along with incredible presets for Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw, join Archipelago Quest today. With a Quest membership, you'll get a new set of presets every month, regular education content, and other bonus content, all for just $8 each month. Find out more at archipelagoquest.com.